Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Two Wise Girls podcast. Also wanted to talk about a recent Colin Gosselin interview. We're highly I was going to say anticipatory. My brain is so fried still. Um, we're highly anticipating his book just because, you've seen our podcast to what we cover, but also just some of the things that he's mentioned more recently have really, I don't know, for us, they've resonated in ways that we weren't expecting.
They're always going to tell these kids that they're wrong for using their voice, and I'm here to tell these kids that they're right for using their voice. I take accountability. I wasn't a perfect kid. I never want to say I was a perfect kid, but the claims she's made against me are only to fit her narrative. Being told all these things about your brother when all you saw was me being withdrawn and sad and whatever, after all the events that occurred when you weren't even in the home. I mean, think about it. I love my sister. I'll always be there with her, for her. And I even texted her the other day and I said, like, I know you don't want to, like, it was about some recent events, and I said, I know you don't want to talk about these things, and we're not going to. I just said, I love you, and I'm always going to be there for you, and I just want her to know that her relationship with my mom and my siblings is never going to determine our relationship, and I'm never going to have any hard feelings for her.
That he's been looking at court records from their divorce and from other things that have been in the court system from them for a long time when he was either away or was not or is too young to read them. And he talks about how there's a Gosling family education fund where all of them were supposed to have money to go to college, and that one of the suspicious things about his mom and the bodyguard person is that the bodyguard person and his kid was like the beneficiaries of that fund, where basically if something happened where all of them somehow died, that person, that Steve was his name, and his child would be the ones that would get the money in that fund if none of his siblings ever use it. And so that is like a weird thing. If there isn't anything weird going on before during that time, because that was back in like 2009 and stuff, he said, when all that was set up. And so, but he mentioned it because he had his first year of college paid for, but the other years of college weren't, and he had to pay for it himself. He talked about getting like a regular person, like waiting job or something like that, like a very like normal, like menial labor sort of job that he used to pay for the other years of school.
Good news, I received scholarships for having a very good GPA, and I also wait tables in college full time to now pay for the continuing of my education. So to put in perspective, I mean, I was thrown about everything I could for my first year of college. And no, I don't go to a private college either, so don't think it's anything crazy.
Like legally, you're not supposed to like pick favorite children and give them more money than other ones. Everyone is supposed to get the same amount. And it is like this thing that they were this huge show on TLC for all these years. But when he went to college, he was having to get a normal job and try to pay for it himself because he didn't have any money saved for him. And the thing I wanted to mention, especially about that, is that they lived in the state of Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania actually changed their child like entertainer laws because of this family, because of how successful this show was when they lived there. And so they changed them where they included the internet as like being a child entertainer. Like they have live performance where they make like a limit of how many times a week you can do like a live performance, like in a play or a musical or something, if you're a minor. But they have live performance, radio, TV, movies, publications, documentaries, reality programming, other broadcast media, and the internet. And so if you're wondering why none of the like family channels live in Pennsylvania, that's at least one of the reasons why they don't, because they have limits. You have to get a permit in order to do that. And then if you have a permit, then the state knows that you know the rules and laws that you're supposed to follow. And so if you break them, it's very easy for them to find out because you do all those things publicly, where you would then get in trouble if you don't. And there's even like rules with like their schools, of how much time they're allowed to miss from school because of performing or rehearsing, and there is a $500 violation the first time you break the rules, and it goes up from that up to like even prison time if you keep doing it enough
Oh,
and
wow.
they don't think that you're learning anything, and or you keep breaking the rules. And so they changed these rules after this family happened because they clearly saw like what was going on, that they were making all this money and there was no protections for these kids. And so that's something we've talked about before, about the idea of like Coogan accounts with at least child like actors and stuff, that they have accounts where they put 10% of their money into it that they're supposed to have access to when they're 18. But that also doesn't always work out because uh their parents can like in the state of Pennsylvania. I know this already because Marco Scobell from Percy Jackson, who stars in that show that we cover all the time, is from Pennsylvania. And so I used his state to like just look this up when we did a episode about Coogan accounts like a year and a half ago. But I know from doing that already, that in the state of Pennsylvania you have to like go to like a judge and basically like give them a reason as to why you need to take the money out early. And it has to be like a good reason, like an emergency situation or something like that, that
Yeah.
they can't just like take it out because they want to. Not every state has laws like that. Some states are a little bit more lax about when parents can, and if parents are manipulative. And a lot of times parents of performing kids like that tend to be, because
Yeah.
of just the stereotype about the kids that end up in entertainment industries. And so they can very easily manipulate their kids to give them some of their money. You saying like, we need, it's for the family or whatever. And then when they're 18, they suddenly realize that they don't have any money left. Um like the one other story similar to this, Miyako, who plays Toph
Top.
in season 2 of Avatar: Last Airbender, she recently talked about how she changed her name because her family was abusing her a lot. And one of the things that she mentioned in her video, which I recommend watching on her Instagram or TikTok, whichever one, is
Yeah.
that she only got paid for one episode of season 2 because her family had her sign something that she didn't realize was giving them access to her Coogan account. And so even though she was over the age of 18, they took all the money out of that account. And so she didn't actually see any of the money she was making until the very last episode of the season, when she was able to finally like get away from them and get control of that stuff legally again. And
Yeah.
so
She mentions in the video a co-star is helping her out. She doesn't say who,
mhm.
but like she basically is only able to exist independently currently because she had somebody on the set of Avatar helping her.
Yeah. And so I did wonder about, before Colin even talked about the money stuff, um, what, because I was pretty sure that his mom would not be like sharing this, or that a bunch of it would have been spent on the divorce stuff with his
Mm-hmm.
dad, and that whole back and forth, like how much money they were spending on paparazzi nonsense. It's just really
Yeah.
refreshing to see somebody like that in this position, instead of it just being people like Drake Bell
Mm-hmm.
and like in Quiet on Set, or people like Sherry who just like don't want to be in the public eye. He wants
Yeah.
to use the public eye as like a weapon, basically, to try to get people to listen to what he's been through so that actual change can happen. And I'm like, that's the only reason to ever want attention from people, is to try to use it for a better purpose.
Yeah. I can already see the ways that Kate is going to spin it, right? Of like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is revenge. Oh, he's still manipulating people and all of that. Especially because like he was really clear on his purpose, which was, I want my siblings to see all the evidence laid out so they can make an informed decision just like
Mm-hmm.
I did. And then the other big thing that he kept saying was, I want to be a voice for abused kids because nobody believed me when it was happening. And people still don't believe me. People are still in my comments. And I want the kids that it's happening to know that, like, you just got to find the right people to tell. And yeah. And so that, of course, to us, we were like, this is so refreshing hearing a kid say exactly what needs to be said.
Honestly, out of this whole thing, if there's going to be any like legal action with anyone, I hope he destroys TLC as a network altogether.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, just stop. I don't know what. I remember that channel being like an education channel when I was younger. And then at a certain point, when reality TV started, when I was like a teenager, it turned into shows like this, and it's been just horrific and disgusting. And it is like a very good point he mentioned, is that the idea that a TLC employee was like living in their house and was like with his mother and was cheating with his, like he was cheating on his wife with, at the same time that she was cheating on their dad, and they were just like doing this weird thing, and that he was an employee of the network. That is so, like, there's no boundaries there. That's wildly inappropriate. And TLC clearly knew that stuff was going on, because his address was listed on like legal documents and stuff he found as their address. And so there's no way that his job didn't know that, because you have to have a legal address to send, like paychecks and things like that too. And so they definitely knew. And so the bare minimum, this network knew and didn't care what was happening, because, and probably financed her sending him to the place that she did for the amount of time that she did, because of the money that they were giving her, because they just wanted to make money off of this family and didn't care what happened to the kids actually involved. And that's like a level of monstrous that is just hard to comprehend, that people running this network would be willing to turn the other cheek when a mom like Kate is sending one of her children that's only 11 years old, and he just disappears, and they're fine with it because he was the kid that didn't want to do the show anymore.
We're going to keep following this. We're eventually going to read that book. We've talked about doing a 1-episode spinoff of just Sherry Frankie's book, which now that we finished The Lost Hero, we're probably going to do like a 1-episode Sherry episode. And yeah, so we're going to stay on this topic a little bit here and there. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other things podcast-wise. Don't harass people on our behalf. I know we don't need to say that to our normies, but like all of the new people. Yep. And then if you made it this far, remember to do all of the things like subscribe, check out some of our other videos. Yeah. But yeah, with that, we'll be back next week with Sherry Frankie's memoir and whatever other shenanigans the world gets up to.
Yeah, we'll see.